welcome back to the pit. It's your favorite host, CroSoul over here. Of course, with Lil Bear.
What's up?
And we have two guests today. A returning champion of the darkness, Iffy Jiffy over here.
Yeah.
And the hottest man in the South Pacific, JalaPP.
Yeah.
All right, today we're going to bring you another tier list. And this one's going to be for all the fans of warfare.
Did I say hi?
Yeah, you did say hi. But not modern warfare. We're going to talk about the tier list of medieval weapons, and this can range from the 5th to the 15th century. Now, any weapon from that timeline, that period, can be in there, and we're all going to give you your personal opinion and why we think that weapon should be there. Of course, just like with any tier list, we're going to start off with the crap, we're going to start off with the Burger King of the tier lists at the very bottom. And if everybody wants to, I can go first.
Go for it.
And the first one that I'm going to say, was one of the crappiest medieval weapon ever created. It was actually the Morning Star. Let me tell you why. And it's the one with the chain edition.
Ooh.
All right? Ooh. For one,
Flail.
was that terrible Flail. It was terrible. It wasn't the easiest thing to make. And for two, not only was it terribly ineffective at all. Like, imagine this. You're swinging this thing like you're this cool. You're swinging, and then you take a swing and somebody just does this with like a piece of wood. And now it's like wrapped, and you lose. You just lost there against a stick.
Plus, just swinging around, you could just hit yourself back in the head.
Exactly.
Game over.
Game over for you right then and there, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. F tier for the Flail right off the bat. And I think it's well deserved. I mean, if everybody wants to try to give the Flail any type of credit, go right ahead. But I think there is none, This is just a Jarrett of weapons right there, man. Like, terrible.
All right, so I'll go for my F tier bottom list, and this has been recorded in use very, very infrequently because it just doesn't work. Fire arrows.
Wow. Fire arrows.
Fire arrows do not work. They were tried by a lot of different places in a lot of different times, and they just never got it right because, after all, if you light something on fire and then blow on it, it goes out. Right?
Oh, yeah, so as soon as you shoot it, it just goes up.
Exactly. So they made special arrow tips that could be covered and filled with pitch, and so then you'd light it and shoot it off, but no one's been able to recreate it in a modern way and prove that it actually works. It just doesn't. It's poo-poo. And then even if you do hit someone with a really hot arrow, guess what happens to the wound?
They close us up.
Exactly, it cauterizes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is when you want to, weaken the Pokemon first. I guess this would have been so imagine.
No, that's the test Pokemon.
This is the 14th century. We're down in Egypt. We're just trying to catch a few people, but we can't kill them. We gotta weaken them first. So I'm like, Iffy Jiffy, use fire attack. He's like, got it. So yeah, I can see why this would be F tier. Easily.
Me personally, I feel like the lowest of the lowest,
right,
has to be a fucking dagger.
Dagger.
Ooh, a dagger.
Oh, okay.
But listen to me. The reason why is because daggers be 3-4 inches.
Like me.
But then my 3-4 inches isn't doing enough damage. So in reality, you're not doing me any fucking justice at all.
So the dagger gets F tier because of self-penis hatred.
Hey, if it's enough to do some damage, why can't mine?
Yo. Well, I mean, this is a question to God himself. Why?
But you know what? If you stab somebody 3 or 4 times, I guess I gotta give the dick 3 or 4 times to the chick.
I mean, look, even if you are a 3-pump man, at least you pumped. All right?
Strength in numbers.
So I mean, but look, there's only one. It doesn't matter if it's 3 inches, because there is one secret that a lot of dudes should, don't know about, and this bitches love endless shrimp.
Comment down below, ladies. Tell us, right?
But on the real side, I feel like it's low tier because if you think about how close you have to get to somebody, and through armor and everything, you would have to aim for the weak points.
Yeah, you would have to for the gaps or the throat itself. And like you said, I mean, I would personally maybe even put it at D, but yeah, I can see why, because a dagger is really a last resort of a thing that you would really use.
Especially if you're fighting a motherfucker who does not care.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're fighting shock cavalry or anybody really like shock troops, anything heavy, the chances are you're not even gonna get close enough. I mean, you're gonna get clobbed or pole-armed in the head, and that's gonna be gay over for you right then and there. All right, JalaPP, what about your, what do you think is like the poop de la poop of weaponry in the good old medieval peasantry time?
Oh, well, I'm not intellectual about these kinds of things.
All right.
But you know those little knuckle thingies that you put, and it's like metal? You have to punch.
Iron knuckles?
Yeah. I would say those are probably the worst.
You imagine yo, so we're going to 15th century Germany. There's a rebellion going on. It's the Brack Knuckle Schnitzel boys. They're fucking up cows. They're tipping them, breaking their jaw, chipping horns. Yeah, I mean, yo, so F tier to the brass knuckle schnitzel gang. I mean, you were a menace, but you were not a danger. Yeah. So, fair enough. Yo.
All right, so just letting you guys know, there is no, steadfast and hard rules on these ones, I guess.
Well, yeah, but I mean, don't
try.
Look, he comes from a universe where Harambe is still alive, so so don't even. Like, come on. The brass knuckle schnitzel gang is a real thing. I mean, the Google might not tell you it is, but Google is just jealous.
That's right.
They wish they could have chipped cow horns and shit like that back in Germany. Good old Bratwurst fest. All right, let's go to D tier for me. D tier for me, it's actually going to be the buckler.
Okay.
Due to the fact, the buckler is a thing, it wants to be a shield, but at the same time, it wants to be a bigger sized glove. It's small, and I don't even know why you would choose a buckler over a round shield or a kite shield. I mean, this is just not something that... What is the purpose? God forbid somebody has a crossbow. You're gone, I think a man with a sling could beat you if you have a buckler, because he can just aim for your groin or your kneecaps, and sooner or later you will fall. Yeah. So buckler was... I don't know who invented it, why it was invented, but I guess if you parry with a buckler and you can go home and live to tell the tale, maybe you got extra punini that night. That's about it. I don't know why anybody would choose that over a sturdy shield.
Bucklers are like the Priuses of the day. It's like, you look at the guys with the big old kite shields and be like, oh, looks like someone's compensating for something. so this third guy hears that from, the corner of his ears, and he's like, well, I guess I'll get the little tiny shield then. So, obviously I got a big old cock, right? But the reality is that you're just gay.
I mean, back in that day, that was still a thing. I mean, hey... You gay, you Spartan. That's how it rolled.
All right, so let's go on to my D tier. My D tier is the War Scythe. The War Scythe. So, a lot of days now, nowadays we look at scythes and we think, Grim Reaper, and he's, got this big old thing that he could use to cut and stab people, on the end of a big ass pole. But that's not how scythes work. Scythes are at an angle meant to cut grass and wheat and stuff like that. That's why he's the Reaper. He reaps your soul like it's a piece of grass.
That's right.
He's not trying to slice your fucking head off. And so when you use with a blade that's facing downwards towards the ground, how are you going to slice someone? You can't. So the only way you could use a war scythe is by taking the blade and flipping it so that it's parallel, the same direction with the pole. And so now it's just a fucked up spear.
The only known historical gang that has ever had success were the Polish pierogi man. They have cut down around 10,000 fields, and they were really famous in the area. So that's another historical fact from the pit, just for everybody out there who wants to know. So, Iffy, do you have a D tier?
I do indeed.
All
and
right.
You know what it is?
What is it?
It may be annoying and it may be very small.
Okay,
but I feel like the caltrops.
Oh, okay.
Whoa,
yeah,
okay.
see, I can see why you would put that in D tier because they have limited use.
They do. They can only really be used.
Again, like horses and
yeah, for horses. But like, if I'm looking at you and I'm on the other side, I'm gonna just throw my sword.
I mean, again, caltrops are one of those things. If you are really going against, not how dense formation, right? If you're going against a wide formation, there's decent amount of people, but they're wide. They're not gonna flog. They're not gonna step on it. I mean, and again, we're talking about heavily armored dudes. Even then, it's not gonna do much damage compared to like a horse. A horse steps on them and you're flipping. You're going. Whoo!
You're going to meet the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a well-deserved D tier, I would assume. I have nothing bad to say about that. It's a well placed. Yeah, really well placed. So, JalaPP, do you want to tell us another D tier?
Yeah.
A hot one.
This one's meant for slavery, so I'm gonna put it. It's a whip.
Okay, so
Explain.
Explain too. Why is that higher than the brass knuckle? I would assume because of the range.
Yeah. You can hit somebody from far away.
Yeah. Yo. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think the Indians did try to weaponize the whip, right?
Yeah.
They did try to weaponize the whip with metal, like razor blades, or...
It was a flexible metal that they used like a sword whip. And yeah, it's poo-poo.
That's a well-placed D tier. Unless it becomes S tier if you have no shirt. If you're shirtless, it's S tier. Like, straight. One of the greatest saviors of humanity has fallen to the whip. Well, let's go to B tier. C tier. C tier. C tier has to be something that is good, but not the best. And for C tier, I'm going to pick one thing that's actually really, really easy, in my opinion, because it only has really one use, and that's going to be the war pick. Okay. The only reason the war pick really has is straight up what it says, to pick through a helmet or... I mean, you're not going to have any effect against horses. You're not... Against a normal dude, swinging a pick is not going to be the most effective way. Now, if you're going against a boy and like a little bit of more a bling bling, a little more chain, yeah, it's more effective than a good old sword. But again, against light infantry or something like that, a pick is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a pick. That's about it. That's where it's only effective against a certain thing, but to the point where it does its job really well. So I'm going to give it C tier.
C tier.
That's about it. That's from my side for C.
For me, I'm going to just have to go with a polearm.
Polearm at C.
I mean,
Okay.
Okay.
Granted that it's easy to manufacture.
It is.
And that, it's a pretty large object and it's giving you, like, training. I'm going to have to give it a little bit of a C tier. But then the downside on it is that there's only so many people that you can impale in one go.
Oh, so you're talking... So you're more talking of one of those...
More like spears as opposed to like halberds?
Because we're talking... Like, if I'm thinking polearm, I'm thinking almost S tier due to the fact that it can have a hammer side, a blade, and a... But if you're talking like straight up...
Like more of a spear.
Like
Okay,
a spear weapon, yeah, C tier easily.
All right.
Because, again, what does it do really well? It's a really effective against cavalry. You can beat another dude because, hey, you might stab him before he stabs you.
If forces are coming, you can just plant it in the ground.
But at the same time, it is one of those weapons. As soon as somebody gets to it's more heavily armored, gets a little bit close. You might as well have nothing. Yeah.
All right.
You might as well not have nothing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. C.
Yeah. C tier is really well for that one.
All right. So, C tier for me is going to be one that's even older than medieval times, but it was also used then. The sling.
Okay.
David and Goliath, style. Not a slingshot. It's just a little sack with a little pocket with 2 strings attached. You throw it. You find any rock, You find any rock, and you can just straight up take it up, swing it around, and throw it at something.
And the best part about it is it doesn't require much training to do so. I mean, as a kid, you can pick up a piece of leather, put a rock in there, and be like, "Oh, I'm going to spin this until I let go." And there you go. All of a sudden, you kill 3 pigeons. You're not dying anymore from starvation. It's a good day.
Now, it's hard to tell, just how many people died from slings because the ammo is rocks. And all they find of the dead bodies is cracked skulls, broken arms, and stuff like that. And the idea was kind of to be used similar to archery, where you would send a crap ton of rocks, in an infantry's way.
In a volley.
Yeah, a volley. You send it in a ton of volleys, and eventually that would be enough to make most of the crew flee. So that was kind of the idea of it, was long distance, even longer than arrows were at the time.
Even like if it doesn't kill, it dents armor, it causes damage, it can cause trauma. So it's a really effective weapon. And guess how cheap it is? Extremely cheap. Yeah. Because, you pick up ammo wherever you want.
Yeah. But because there's so little evidence of it being actually deadly, I can't, in good faith, put it any higher than C tier. It's got to stay there, mid-range.
That's exactly what because, if you want another fact from the pit, the reason why a lot of these people had, cracked skulls, it was not due to the slings. It was a well-known glizzy contest back in Rome. And people would be, downing glizzies like crazy. And then when, a man couldn't down a glizzy, they crack a skull open because you lost. And it was a really honorable... Again, a really famous messiah was the champion, but I'm not going to name him. People can Google this. It's on there. People can find it. So, that's another really accurate historical fact from the pit. Yeah. So, JalaPP, what would you put at the good old-fashioned C tier and why?
I'd probably say maybe the Catapult.
Okay. Yeah, I can absolutely see why.
So, it's only because it takes so long to reload each shot.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's only one use to get, those little army people out of the way when they're trying to charge at you.
And it's exactly a thing see, this was actually, I might as well spoil it. My B tier was going to be the Trebuchet. And due to the fact that, unlike a Catapult, the Trebuchet has more range. And the Catapult is more of it's mobile, right? But at the same time, the range isn't there. And again, the reload time
is just about almost the same as a Trebuchet.
Yeah, exactly. And yet the Trebuchet, man, I can be all the way over there, and I can not only create more force and more distance, it's way more deadly because you can pack bigger ammo.
And it's better for breaking sieges and stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, I can see Catapult being C tier because it is just good enough to do the job for, like you said, you get 5-6 of those bad boys and you get a first volley off. Chances are you're gonna dim the infantry to the point where now they're manageable. And God forbid you get more time to reload again. Now you're actually starting to win. So yeah, I can see why. But then at the same time, I really placed hammer and anvil tactic, some cavalry from the back, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a really big pile of nothing that can't do anything. But yeah, C tier, really well deserved. And again, we can move up to B tier, and people have heard what mine would be, and that would be Trebuchets, for a simple reason. And Lil Bear touched up on it, and it was because of sieges. Now, there was a famous story about the biggest Trebuchet ever built. And let's just say the enemy army, when they saw that thing, they surrendered. But the dude was like, nah, I want to use this. So he still fired. And yeah, it did exactly what you would expect it to do. It crumbled it. It crumbled the castle like paper, man. So yeah, Trebuchet, big plus for them is you can build them any size you want. And again, the ammo capacity, the range, really good. So yeah, B tier for me.
Alright, so my B tier is going to be utilizing catapults and trebuchets, but it's going to be the ammunition. So, my ammunition, sick bodies.
Wow.
Corpse catapults.
Plagues.
Yep, exactly.
Plague catapults is what they were, yeah.
So you basically find a dude who's got the plague of any kind. Maybe he got herpes. Maybe he,
even dead cattle.
Dead cattle, horses.
Now, this was the first recorded usage of biological weapons in human history. Was actually with diseased corpses and raw dead bodies. And now you would think like, yeah, man, you would be surprised how effective that was. You could have a whole city sick and dying from all kinds of diseases. There was really one drawback to it and why it wasn't used more often. Well, now you're kind of taking that city, right? Yeah. You're kind of walking into what you just created. Yeah. So in a lot of instances, the people who would occupy it, after the conquest would start getting sick themselves. That's why it has not been used as much in history. But was it effective? Oh, yeah. It was effective.
There's another problem for me that keeps it in B tier, and it's that on impact, you're not going to kill anyone.
Absolutely. Right? Unless it's a cow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll get someone like in the Monty Python and the Holy Grail,
That's right.
On, a guy who's got coconuts in his hand.
But it's never completely accurate compared to rock or fire.
Exactly.
You're talking about like plague. You're just catapulting it just so it lands in the city. Mm-hmm. You're not really aiming at anything. Even if you
hopefully we can get into the well, But good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, as long as you hit it and it splatters on the inside of the wall, even if the guts fall out, you've done your job. Yeah. You spread it. That's all it really is. So yeah, really
I would feel that another weapon that would be on par with that, but would also have the same setbacks, poison.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Just knowing the fact that some poisons, like how they used to do back in Rome, they'd mix it with their wine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And the smell would cover it.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Poison's perfect B tier. Two things why, right? They do their job. Absolutely. But is this a thing that I can actively use in active warfare? Absolutely not. But can I take out some important leaders or, public? Oh, yeah. And like you said, it doesn't, and a lot of these poisons didn't leave trace, right? And the ones who even did, well, good luck finding out who did it.
Because there's so many people, because granted, the person that's getting poisoned...
yeah, he's dead.
One, he's dead. Two, it's probably some official or whatever, so he has probably many enemies.
Exactly.
And you never know...
And plus, it's not like we had fingerprints.
Friends. You
never know who that person may have wronged.
Well, that's why that's why it inspired Assassin's Creed to be so, back in the Roman days, assassination was a really, what would you even call that? A noble game. It was a popular noble game where I can be friendly to you today, you're friendly to me today. I already hired a hit on you. And then this is a thing that
Wait, so you mean that the Italians have been ordering hits on people forever? No.
Well, I mean, from what we know, at least in the 20s. At least in the 20s. True. On Valentine's Day.
There is one more drawback to poison, though, is that it can be defeated by a taste tester.
Well, that's the whole reason why taste testers were a thing. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of ways from how poison evolved is once they realized, they have taste, they started putting them in gifts. There would be people who put them in coats, and the guy, it gets exposed to the skin. Psych, it's mercury. He doesn't die right then and there, but in the course of a week or two, he's gone. Just like that. And again, poison, even to this day, is still used in a lot of, assassination attempts, murders, and yeah. We don't really need to explain why poison is a really good B tier.
R.I.P. Uncle Melvin.
All right, what would you pick for your blood tier?
Oh, me?
That's right, you boy.
Great swords.
Great swords. All right. Okay, that's a really good pick too.
Damn, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a really good pick because great swords have their pluses and downsides, right?
Because they're super heavy, but they're very effective.
Extremely effective.
Well, they're very effective at doing one thing, though, and that's attacking, charging cavalry.
Exactly. Yes. But at the same time, unlike the spear, when the guy is even dismounted, they have a good chance of even hitting the weak spots of armor and still killing people. The neck, for instance, a great sword... A good jab with a greatsword in the neck leaves the guy almost decapitated.
Yeah, but
even most greatswords back in the day, you can turn it to the pommel side to use it as a blunt weapon. it did two jobs at the same time. That's the reason why, great swords, especially during the Templar era, man, were they effective. They were extremely effective. Like, again, there's a reason why swords to this day are romanticized in a way where, everybody wants a sword. Yes, there is better weapons than them, but they were really the jack of all trades. You can do a half hold on the sword. You can pretty much, again, if you two-hand a sword and thrust, you generate way more power and you actually have a good chance of penetrating mail.
Yeah, well, but the great sword specifically was super long, and it really was not meant for one-on-one combat.
No, it was not.
It was more used as, you would want to swing it around in a long circular motion. So, realistically, you would want to send out these guys to break cavalry, then bring them back in and wait for more cavalry to come in, and then you would bring your own spears out there. So, it had its great effectiveness, but it wasn't like a regular long sword or a hand-and-a-half bastard sword, anything like that. Yeah. You really did want it just to cut down cavalry.
Right, but at the same time, unlike a spear, it didn't leave you in a position where, God forbid somebody gets close. You still can do a lot of stuff with it. A spear is a good weapon, but unlike a sword, it really cannot be turned into anything else but a goddamn pokey stick. Yeah. It's still a pokey stick in the end of the day.
You have to have a certain build.
Yeah,
be able to use
exactly.
it.
You cannot be 5'10" and come on. You're just not gonna be. The sword is bigger than you. Like you said, you really did have to have a build for some of these weapons. Which brings us to our A tier. Now we're getting to the creme de la creme. And to me, I was actually gonna give this spot to the longsword for a simple reason. It was the jack of all trades. Now, what can you do with a longsword? The list of things that you can't do with a longsword is better. What can you not do with a longsword? Well, you cannot really use it as a projectile, but even then you might even get a little bit of the hilt and throw it at the guy.
Distract him. Of death.
The pommel of death, man. Because for one, it was short enough where you can still look for the weak spots in the armor. But long enough to the point where you're not compromised like with the dagger. Alright? At the same time, if it's not an armored opponent, good luck. He's getting it. Simple as that. The biggest weakness the sword really has is armor, but at the same time, it still has the ability, because people died to swords in in armor, cavalry, foot. People still died to swords. And guess what? Everybody had a sword due to the fact that it was the jack of all trades. It was the favorite secondary weapon of everybody who ever lived at that time. And it was simple as that. There's just not else to say about it.
You want to know another good weapon?
Absolutely.
It's just as simple as that?
What is it?
The club.
Again, a perfect A tier.
Damn.
And now let me tell you why. It's a blunt weapon. Now, what is the biggest weakness of armor? It's blunt force. No, I don't have to break the armor, but if I can cause enough force to the head, he's gonna die in that little shell. I just cracked him on the inside. And a club can do that perfectly. Yeah, absolutely. You might want to put a little bit of metal on that club to make it a little bit more efficient, or get an old-fashioned mace. But yeah, straight up, like you said, a club and your club, bro.
Bam, bam.
Bam, bam, bro. Yeah, it's a fantastic A tier. The only thing that the club really cannot do, like I said, good luck with the cavalry charge. But again, we're talking about infantry on infantry action. Yeah, you're golden.
And let's be honest here. Most of medieval history, most foot soldiers, peasant soldiers, even some regular armies didn't have the armor that we assume when we think about this.
No.
Knights were
the
only padded armor.
That's why the knight was so valuable. Even in the occurrences where you defeated an enemy army, you kept the knight so you can ransom it. Because he went through 20 years of training. This is something the enemy force is willing to pay for to get it back. For one, he's trained to, he's conditioned for armor, for one, right? And for two, like you said, armor didn't just come in like, oh, yeah, here you go, bro. No, it did not. So, people who did have heavy forces fully armored, that was really a rare sight, and that was something you didn't want to see as a peasant, ever. Because there's been recorded instances where one knight could take down around 50 infantry soldiers due to the fact that everything they had, it didn't go through. And all he does is takes a blind swing. The guy has no armor. He's chopping somebody down. Mm-hmm. It's simple as that. And that's why armor was so effective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for that reason, the club makes a great point as an
exactly.
A tier, because most of the time you're going to be able to get to a head pretty quickly.
And you crack it, even if you concuss the guy to the point where he's down, you've done your job. He's out of the fight. You've taken a big threat out.
And plus, on the bright side, too, of that weapon, even if you hit them and they don't go down that first time, there can still be long-term damage after the fight.
And you can even dent armor with it, which is another big... reduce visibility, still a great thing.
On top of all this stuff, most battles throughout human history have not been, everyone dies.
No, it's routing.
It's a big part of battle at this time to make the other team think that they're losing. And if one dude sees his brother get hit in the face with a stick and his brain explodes...
chances he's going to run.
Yeah, he's turning around immediately.
He's going to run.
Yeah, that's very effective.
Yeah, so moving on with A, JalaPP, what would you want to put on the table?
I would have to say bow and arrow.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Hold on, which one?
Like that, we'll assume the longbow. Because
all right, we'll say English longbow, and you take mine, you bastard. Oh. Go.
Only because you have all that range, and they're you sit them in the back, you just shooting hundreds of them.
Yeah, you do the volley tactic again,
exactly.
just like Little Bear said with the sling, except this one is more effective.
Exactly,
pierces armor.
Exactly, pierces chainmail really well, which has been proven on a lot of.
Yeah,
you shoot in the soft underbelly part of it, and again, this is not what you aim for. You just shoot as many as you can.
Exactly,
and really popular thing. Longbows were not shot in the air like a lot of people think. They were shot directly.
Yeah, you shoot straight. Right?
You shoot straight.
At a little bit of an angle to go upwards,
right.
A little bit of range, but mostly it was straight.
But not like in the movies you see, he's shooting all the way goddamn in the air and then it's falling. If that would be the case, it would be extremely ineffective because it's going to hit the helmet of the guy? That's exactly. The worst spot you want to hit, especially from the top. Come on, man.
Now, especially with the English longbow, you've seen, most of you guys have probably been in school, you read about World War II. You've seen that picture of Winston Churchill holding the two fingers up. You think, peace sign, right? No. That's the British version of a middle finger. Because when the French would catch an English bowman, they were so valuable, to take them out, they would cut off their middle finger and their pointer fingers. So English people started throwing up the two fingers as a f*** you to the French. So that's what Churchill's doing. But every day in this medieval period, soccer was banned under most kings. Most kings banned soccer. Why? Because instead, dads would take their sons out and every afternoon shoot arrows. That's why they became so good and so accurate, along with the fact that England grew special forms of yew trees. YEW, and that's a special kind of wood that was really good for making 6.5 foot tall bows that would sometimes bring up to 300 pounds of pressure.
Really great castle defense, by the way. Fun fact about soccer, the first soccer that was ever created was played on ice. Did you guys know that?
Ooh.
By knights in armor.
Oh, wow. Man.
That's why it became so popular.
Why don't we have that as a modern...
because...
Ice soccer? That's great.
It was extremely entertaining, but again... there was concussions. Yeah, we have the UFC, but armored soccer is a problem. Okay, whatever, man. All right, what would be your A tier?
Yeah, we're going to go with armor of all kinds.
Absolutely, yeah. What protects a life better than armor? To this day, we're still trying to perfect armor.
Now, let's talk about even the lowest grade armor that you would have in the Middle Ages.
Cardboard.
Sure. No,
Gambison.
Most common people would wear a gambison. It's like a thick, padded jacket that you would wear. And
it's just a bunch of fabric, man.
Exactly, and that worked. That fucking did the job. Mm-hmm. Honestly, an arrow could get stuck in a gambison, and just because of how thick it was, it wouldn't go all the way through. It might still scratch you up, but you take it out. And now you've just got one arrow-sized hole in there, and you've got the rest of the jacket still taking care of you. Add on top of that another layer. You got chainmail.
Chainmail.
And if you dare to be a knight, then you have very, very well manufactured plate armor.
Chainmail in the 12th century was the biggest game changer that ever. Gambison on top of chainmail, that was the thing, man. you saw Chainmail Boy and you were like, whoa, like that's the next level of stuff, because arrows couldn't go through all the way. But then, just like we advance, you know what happens, right? People are like, well, how do I penetrate that? So this was when the first crossbows were starting to come out, around the 13th century, that were like with bolts, because bolts were heavy enough to actually penetrate the chainmail and the gambeson at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, but chainmail, and then on top of that, when people were like, well, what do we do now? Let's fold steel on top of steel and create plate. Yeah, bro. And there you are, plate armor.
Now, there's one more special armor I want to take a look at real quickly. I forget what the name of it is. It's something like Chevalier or something along those lines.
Hey there, this is Little Bear from the future, and the name of that armor was Brigandines. Yes, that armor, once again, was called Brigandines.
But, you know, you see in all these fantasy video games and movies and stuff like that, like studded leather. Well, that wasn't a thing, but you would have, armor that looked like it was studded, leather or studded cloth or something like that. But that was just the rivets holding the plates underneath.
Yeah,
together. The plates would be inside this jacket.
That's why
breastplate.
That's the whole reason why a lot of people think that the samurai were using bamboo, because they had metal. They had metal plates that they were tied with, maybe leather and they liked the, how do you call that? The bamboo shoulder pads. Yeah, a lot of that was actually metal, and people still to this day think it was like, oh yeah, the dude was carrying a log on his shoulder. And that's actually not true. I mean, granted, there is records of, bamboo stuff, but let's be real. If you're really going out there and you are a samurai at that time where you have the sasta to get, you're not getting out there in a hollow little green bamboo thing.
Exactly.
Only in Vietnam, though. All right, let's get to the creme de la creme of it. S tier. And for me, we already mentioned it, for me, it's going to be the polearm. All right? And simple reason why. All right, I have a hammer side for blunt. I have an axe side for cutting. And I have a pointy tip for stabby stabs. And you know what else I have? Range. Mm-hmm. Now, the polearm was good at everything. I don't care if you have a horse. I don't care if you are in armor. I don't care if you're, just light infantry, if you're fast. I can do anything I want with it. It was effective on everything that it did. And it's a simple S tier. I mean, in the 15th century, the polearm was so, mass-produced, it wasn't even funny. Because, again, what did it do? Everything.
And every single blacksmith could make his own version of it. If you wanted a bill hook, you could get one. If you wanted a hammer, you could get one.
Absolutely.
If you wanted a big cock and balls on it, you could get that too.
Bollock's knife, Fabro mentioned just...
Yeah. Honorable mention, the Bollock's dagger, big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, S tier, polearm, for me. Nothing else to say. It's just the thing. It's right there, end.
For me?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Drum roll, please.
The best S tier, one of the best S tier weapons
ever
that is still being used to this day,
and
it has other functions.
All right,
is the farmer's pitchfork.
Ooh.
Farmer's pitchfork.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Do you know why I am just gonna tell you that he is right? Okay. Let's look at history. When push came to shove, what was there? The pitchfork. When you needed to farm, what was there? The pitchfork. But honestly, just like with the sword, right? It's not the most effective, but it's cheap to make. It's always there. And damn, if somebody's raiding me and I have a goddamn pitchfork, you better believe I'm gonna use it.
And what have you been using your whole life?
Exactly. No, so that is I really like that.
But think about all the situations back then, like the Salem witch trials.
Absolutely.
Whenever they thought somebody was a monster or a witch, the whole town gathered up.
What do you mean they thought they were, bro? What do you mean?
Torches and pitchforks.
Let's be honest.
That's
here.
right.
The only witches who were burned were in Spain and England and France. None of us were burned here in America. So,
ma'am, come on, we did one in
You don't know that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Brandon. Yeah. Shit.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't do that.
No.
Damn, bro. But yeah, I mean, he has a really good point. Even to this day, the term, they're out there with torches and pitchforks is used.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, again, in a rebellion, that's what you would see. Not in a rebellion, but in a lot of situations, the pitchfork is there. Yeah, really solid S tier.
Yeah.
I cannot say nothing bad about it.
I mean, agreeing with both of you guys, my S tier ends up being the spear for very similar reasons. If you look back in all the deaths in history, what weapon has the most casualties attached to it? It's the spear.
The dildo.
That's the second. But the spear, and mostly because it's cheap, it's effective, and it requires zero training. You, as a peasant lord...
Stick it with the pointy end.
Exactly. I mean, God, even if you want to just get a stick with a sharp end on it, just don't... I mean, you could do anything. But basically, you go to your peasants who've been farming for you, you say, here, I got you this present. We got to go fight people. And they're like, I don't know how to fight. And you just say, pointy end goes in the other guy. It's so simple. It's so easy to use. I mean, if you've ever picked up a spear, you immediately know what to do with it. Keep people at a distance. Point people. Hit them with the hard side. If they come, if they're a little too far away and they don't want to come close to you, you can throw it. Why? Because it's cheap and you have more.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why that. Yeah, that's a really solid point. And it is true. The
Yes,
most
it is a
casualty.
solid point. Damn right.
Most casualties were inflicted by spears due to the fact, like, again, how long did you have pointy sticks for? As long as we have existed. So it's not really a hard record to break,
Yeah, so
you get a sharp stick, you stick it in the dude.
So you may have been, farming with.
You know how
life. You know how long humanity's been using spears to hunt? Forever.
You know how archery became a thing? There was this one dude who was like, God damn, I want to stab that motherfucker, but he's all the way over there. And that's how archery became a thing. That's. What about you, JalaPP? Give us a juicy one. What is your S tier weapon free?
Oh, it's actually something that we still use today.
Oh,
you can use it anywhere. You can put it on things. It's fire.
Yeah. Hey, good point. You know why? Guess what happens to do the most destruction in our world? It is fire.
Fire.
Damn.
But then you think about it. People straight up were using, like you said, fire arrows were not a thing, right? But you know what was a thing? A rock covered in tar, lit on fire, and tossed to the neighboring village or settlement.
Or setting pigs on fire.
Oh, that's
exactly.
a great one.
Uh-huh.
Pigs, cats.
No, fire is a
horses,
real...
damn.
To this day, we have the thing that we cannot replicate that was extremely effective was Greek fire.
Yeah.
And again, what was it? It was napalm in a way where it would just ferociously burn, even on water, and it wouldn't just burn like, it would burn for a long time. And again, the fact that we had that back then, that just tells you a lot. Like, fire was a thing, and I guess, even in World War II, what was the thing that were people, why soldiers were running from? You see one guy, a dude who started to burn right next to you. Shit, I'm going. Like, man, they might put me against the wall and shoot me. It's still better than to burn alive next to this, like, Nazi freak with a gas mask. Yeah. So, fire. Absolutely. What a weapon. An element turned weapon by nature's most disgusting creation.
Yeah, just
the human. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the best choice out of everything that we have actually picked. It is fire. Yeah.
Prince Zuko wins the...
And then the Fire Nation attacked. All right, guys. That was a really fun tier list, and I have to agree. Like, I really liked everybody's choices. My favorite was the brass knuckle because of the gang. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us for this week, and we're gonna see you next week with an episode on another how-to. And hope the other one you guys used and kind of took advantage of, and I hope everybody now is not single, because that was some good tips.
Lick the inner thigh.
And no blinking. If you blink, you're weak. See ya!
Merry Christmas.